Whoa. Hey guys, have you ever felt the excitement of the market rallying as you're watching it go up, but then all of a sudden you're wondering, oh, what if it all comes crashing down? Well, today we're going to take a look at not only that, but we're also going to take a look at what the heck is going on with this mixed market. But before we dive into answering those questions, let's go ahead and jump over and take a look at the S&P or the spiders, because it seems to be the index that is stuck between two extremes. Those extremes being the NASDAQ on one side and the small cap Russell on the other. As you can see, S&P continues to pile higher. What are we seeing as it moves up into the higher levels? Well, a couple of different things that not necessarily of concern, but certainly make it appear as if we should be getting some kind of a pullback in the very near future. So let's see. Let me get back to the. There we go. So what's going on? One note: we're making new highs. Pow! That's a big deal on both the daily and the weekly. But look at what's going on the momentum. Momentum is not making new highs. Oftentimes, thank you. Let me. How about now?
Got him.
Okay. So as I was saying, let's take a look at the S&P. The S&P is basically pushing on to new highs, as we see right here. However, new highs here on the price action on decreasing volume and the momentum indicators that I use, TSI in this particular case, and even the market forecast is showing negative divergence. Now, just because it shows negative divergence doesn't mean that the market's going to go crashing down. As I said, the S&P continuing to move up with strength. We'll take a look at the NASDAQ in just a little bit. But what I'm looking at is at least some kind of a pullback. We're extended away from the uptrend line. So a pullback at least to the 8-day moving average, or even a more healthy pullback back to the 8-week moving average, which next week is going to be sitting about $543 is where I anticipate that to be. Would not be surprised. What kind of news may strike this next week is right now everything looks good as far as a potential rate cut, maybe in July or at least in August. One of our good friends of AutoPilot Trading, who's a financial planner down in Florida, he basically said that the Fed has an opportunity to come out smelling like a rose or being a hero, or they'll be known as the Fed who missed the opportunity 2 times. So that's what I've got going on with the spiders, and we'll see how this compares over to the NASDAQ here in just a little bit, NASDAQ and the S&P. So one of the things, we look at is basically, I want to say welcome to everybody. But you ever felt like this guy kind of hands up in the air, giving the old Air Force salute of, what's going on? And as we see, we have 2 different extremes. Like I said, I want to welcome everybody. Today, we're going to be tracking the crucial question of, is it time for a pullback, or will the super trend continue to push the market higher? The markets are currently mixed, but they've been mixed almost all year long, as we're very much aware of this. And I'm Dennis Wilborn. I want to say good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. And alongside me is Anil Parikh, and it is afternoon where Anil is, right, Anil?
That is nice. It's about 2 o'clock here.
Okay. How's the weather back there in the Delaware area? Is it hot and humid?
It's a little bit humid, not too bad.
Okay. And Anil has, it was his brilliant mind that basically developed the triple screen stock picking system, and he is the organizer of the Delaware IBD meetup group. So I want to give a shout out to anybody who's from Delaware and his meetup group who's joining us today. Also want to give a shout out to aloha to Blaze Smith, and how's it over there, Wayne? How y'all doing down there in Houston? Glad to see you guys are on board. Let's see what else we have going on. So our goal today is to help you make sense of 95 degrees and 102% humidity down there in Houston, right, Wayne? Our goal today is to help you make sense of this mixed market and find your best opportunities. Did you know that Anil and I have been working together for, over last 2 or 3 years doing this this webinar, this podcast? Anil, our stock picks have just been absolutely amazing. I mean, they really are. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's good. Good to know.
What's really interesting is that we approach the market from slightly different directions, but oftentimes we wind up looking at very similar stocks, which is, I think, is a really great deal. Excuse me. So anyway, back in my early days, in our early days of trading, I remember the time when we completely would get, discombobulated about having a mixed market. And I know here's a little known fact that when you have a mixed market, it can't go on forever because one of two things have got to happen. The stronger markets will pull the weaker markets up, or the inertia of the weaker market will at some point pull the stronger markets down. So where are we at right now? You have any thoughts on that, Anil, on where we're sitting with the individual markets today? I mean,
if I look at my triple screen, they are giving all clear.
Okay.
I have sell signals. Buy signals on daily as well as weekly. I've been also listening to Mark Chaikin, following him quite a bit. And he's saying, if I understood him right, something new. He says the mid cap and the small cap are going to catch up pretty soon.
Okay, that would be cool.
And if that happens, that'll be nice. He's looking at the broad market participation.
The broad market, and I would have to say I kind of agree with that. And especially, who knows, the second half of 2024 may be a splendid year for the small caps and the mid caps. And that leads us into our discussion about the Russell IWM. Look what's going on with the Russell. We are driving sideways basically as we see this consolidation going on here, which is very positive. And however, our momentum hasn't shifted all the way up to the upside yet. Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to, but I'm looking at, we may visit this, these areas of support down about here to here, and then bounce from there and go. Right now, we're working on if this low here on the weekly chart stays intact, that would give us a higher low. And then if we blow out the top here, that would provide us a higher high, which would give us a good indication, we're going to head on up and do well from here. So we currently, in AutoPilot Trading, we are currently trading the leveraged ETF for this one, TNA, to the upside. And it's we're basically watching the consolidation here. And note that it is, looks like it may close below the 8, but as long as we stay above or in line with that level at the 198 level, we should be in pretty good shape. What about the NASDAQ, the NASDAQ is again wow, look at this. Powering on up, and we just hit the 1618 extension from this move from here down to here. And so 1618, if now that that's broken, it would not surprise me to see us move. Let me blow this up a little bit. That would not be a surprise me to see us move all the way up to 200%. And that would be basically 100% extension of this move from about that level right there, 486 down to 474. And that would put us up about the $500 mark on the NASDAQ. Let me take that off real quick, remove that. So I have been watching. I was suspect, Anil, if you'll probably remember a couple of weeks ago, I was suspect when we broke above this trend line that will it stay above the trend line, or was that a sign that we're of weakness going up? Similar to the S&P, though, look what's going on. Negative divergence, and also a little bit of negative divergence on the weekly chart. But this is just continuing to power ahead, moving higher. And right now, a pullback into the 8-day or the 8-week moving average should be looked at as an opportunity to either, get into a trade for the Qs or trade over on the leverage ETF, the TQQQ, which is absolutely going nuts. We bought that early in the year, took off our profits at 10%, some at 20%, and our most recent what we have left is up, I want to say close to, let me give you a number on that, just on TQQ. Yeah, TQQ is currently up 33% from when we originally bought it. So we got to love that. And that's all been since we got in right down here. So big move to the upside. So you say your triple screen looks good. You've got a green light and everything right now, Neil?
Yes, particularly NASDAQ and SPY. IWM is, of course, it's kind of shows consolidation. But we'll see what it does.
So what would you suggest to people if they aren't in, the NASDAQ or TQQ right now? What would you suggest to them of how to address that? How to, do you go ahead and jump in now, or do you wait a little bit?
What I'm doing currently is I'm looking at the individual stocks that are strong, very strong, and still in the base. That means they are not broken out. And if I get the triple screen signal, I'm going with it. And today's stocks will be the example of that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so, yeah, so let's see. Have you ever wondered how you could retire sooner with more money and less fear, especially when the market's unpredictable as this one? Well, I lay out a plan in my book, Trade Your Way to Freedom, Retire Sooner with More Money and Less Fear. I know some of you have read it and basically have reported back to me you absolutely love it. This book is packed with the strategies and insights that I use to help me achieve and beat the market every year for the past 13 years, and to help you achieve financial freedom, financial independence, and more important than that, lifestyle freedom. I'll put a link down in the description to let you know where you can pick this up at on either Amazon or through our training channel. And we also have it available in an audio book right now. So here's where we're sitting. This was last year. Always notice the P&L. It goes in ebbs and flows. And guess what? We're experiencing the same darn thing right now. We're continuing to progress upward. Since April, I've basically tracked parallel to the 20% or the 40% line, but I'm behind schedule. But again, we are just entering the month of July. So, no problem, because I've done this, like I said, for the last, 13, 14 years. And I know that by the end of the year, it comes out, usually comes out absolutely fine. So what about our stocks for this week, Anil? I know that you have given me, you gave us a really great stock. And the first one is, we made some good money on this in the past. ACLS, right? No. Oh,
Yeah,
I gotta put it
ACLS, correct.
Let me retype that in. Okay, ACLS. Now this is a semiconductor company, right?
That is correct. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Electrical Semiconductor Equipment Group.
And so, well, tell me what you like about, why is this one, one you're going to be choosing? I know it must have done well on your triple screen. And are you in it now, or where will you get into it at?
Yes, I'm in it now, and it's SMR rating of A, accumulation distribution B plus, and up down volume 2.1, which is very strong.
Yes.
It has come up from the 40-week line, and I also got a triple screen weekly signal on it a couple of weeks ago, and it's nice, rising nicely in the base, not broken out yet.
I really like, this is, as you can see, look at it on the weekly chart. It is just basically after a long pullback to get, after it had a really great up run last year, and we're getting a turn back up. And you're absolutely right. It is early on the base. I would expect a little bit of a pullback, though, in this area. But, interweek, it did break out above this high. So we'll see what happens. I really like it. The one question I have on this one, though, is, okay, it's only got 351,000. That's its volume for the day, but its average volume is about 517,000 shares per day. Is that okay with you and with your particular rules?
Yeah, as long as everything else is very strong, I even go down to, in my screen, I want volume about 250,000.
Okay.
So it's a little low, but the other indicators are just very strong.
Yeah. And the reason I call that out and ask that question, Anil, is that, traders should have a limit as far as the shares traded or dollar values traded on a stock on a daily basis, because if it's too thin, and 250,000 is great, that's kind of like my lower limit also. But if you start getting down below that very much, it's real easy for volatility to rip you out of a position. And it's just, you have to ask yourself the question, why aren't people buying this entity? And like, oh gosh, like was said by one of our guests on one of the other podcasts, is that he wants people to be buying the same stock that he's buying and recognizing the same patterns, because that gives his stock a better opportunity to go up, which I agree with that wholeheartedly. And so, well, my pick for this week, one of my picks is, I really had a hard time on this one, is NVDA. And NVDA is basically, it grades out as one of the top stocks in its industry group. I think ARM beats it out, but great high rankings on the IBD fundamental rankings. But check out what's going on here. We had a signal early on. We did the post-split depression as people took profits in that. And now we're starting to get a nice little rebound back up. I like to trade off of the 8-day and the 8-week moving average. Notice what happened. It came down and came close to the 8 over here on the weekly chart, as you'll see. There, and then it stopped. And so that's really a significant sign of strength. And then this week, we get a hammer, then we get a close above the 8. And on that close above the 8, I went ahead and opened some, opened some positions, but I also opened a position in its leverage ETF, which is NVDL. And for anybody who's looking at potentially buying this now, I think it's a buy right here, Anil. And a stop loss would be, not the box, give you a stop loss approximately. If you buy here and you use that low right there, you're looking at a stop loss of about 7%. And so like I said, I like it right where it's at. If you want to be a little bit more cautious, wait for the actual bounce off the 8. So that's what I've got going on with NVDA.
Oh, looks good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now I think you're already in NVDA, aren't you?
Now I got out of it.
Okay.
And I might get back in it after listening to you.
So here is Adobe. Now, Adobe has just been on a real tear. This was one of your picks. So how are you going to handle Adobe?
Adobe, actually, again, I bought it, I think day before market was closed. Yes, yeah, day before yesterday, I got in. Again,
Okay.
based on the very strong signals. Fundamentals are very strong. And I also got a triple screen signal on it. So I got in.
So that's excellent. I mean, I'm watching this. It also is, see where it came back in real strong pullback here, but then really nice bounce. And this is strong moves. Everybody just pay attention to this. Strong moves when you get these big green candles on a weekly chart. That's telling you that buyers are really loving this. Now, what do they love about Adobe? Well, it has strong growth performance and also strong performance in its subscription service. And what's interesting is my wife, Michelle, who is a fabric artist, she subscribes to Adobe. She's got all the bells and whistles and dings and dongs and all kind of stuff to be able to do everything with Adobe. So it's, and the thing about it is that when the artists get hooked on this, Anil, they keep raising they never leave the rates set. They keep raising them every year. So it'll go up by 5 to 10% on a yearly basis. And,
Wow.
and the devoted artists out there and the people who use it, they would rather cut their nose off than lose their subscription to Adobe. Well, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, it's still it's 9% from pivot, so it's not broken out. And I think that 9%, I'm hoping that would be easy money. After that, it might pull back a little bit, and we'll see.
I love it. I love it. So here's the 200-day moving average. It's breaking back above that. At this point, the way I would be looking at it is it looks like it's approaching past resistance. Look for a little bit of a pullback towards that 8-day moving average, or even if it broke above the 200, which is right there, that may pulling back towards the 200, doesn't have to get all the way down there, might be just what the doctor ordered to get into that trade. The other thing I like about it is I would say midsection of the weekly candle is also a good location. Next up, and drum roll, please. I know that I didn't mention this when we first got started, but Tesla has had a record-breaking quarter of vehicle deliveries. They have not taken steps with their productivity to make it more effective, more efficient. And so Tesla is back on the list of potential buys big time for me. Look at all the buyers that came in down here. However, after running up, after it broke out, I'll give you a real quick highlight on it ran up. Let's say this is the breakout here. Well, it's gone up about almost 40%, 38 plus percent. But look what it's running into. This is what I find very interesting. This purple line right here is the long-term downtrend. And look how it's getting right there, stopping dead in the water. And today we're getting a hanging man, which is a bearish reversal signal. So I like Tesla, folks, but I've done you a favor. I've drawn in a fib box right here. This is a magic fib box from this low to that high. I anticipate, and I would look forward to Tesla pulling back into or towards this fib box. If I could get a 50% retracement or even a this would be the 618 retracement, that would be a potential really great place to get in. Notice there's a gap up right there about the 215 level. So if I could pick up Tesla at about 215, I think that would be a bargain. Tesla also has a leveraged ETF, and it's TSLA, and it goes up twice as much as Tesla does. So what's your thoughts on Tesla, Neil?
Tesla actually was very interesting last Monday, and I got a triple screen signal on it, but I was kind of preoccupied in other things, and I didn't follow up. But
I got it.
Since then, it gone up. Oh my God! It has gone up about 26%.
Yeah, and the thing about it is we know that type of trajectory cannot be maintained, and so keep your powder dry. You will get another bite at the apple on Tesla as it continues to progress. We've got really great signs on it. We've broken back above the 50. It's above the above the 200, and had done that in a strong manner. And now we just need a pull. I'm looking for a pullback towards the 8-day. The 8-week is way the heck down here, but next week it'll be up towards the middle of the fib box. So that's where I'm looking for the pullback on Tesla. Hey, what we've talked about today has both caught your attention? Just put a note down in the fibs. Thank you very much for the comments on the book. I really appreciate that, folks. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Blaze. So what have you found valuable about today's session? Anil, what about you? What caught your attention on today's session?
It's interesting. You kind of gave me some hope to how to enter Tesla.
Okay.
Which I missed.
So, thanks a lot for sharing that. Even with the mixed market, you can succeed if you try, or if you trade your plan and trade the chart in front of you. Always remember that price is king. So even when you're faced with the seasonality of the market heading down, I hate to use what he says, but Jim Cramer once said, "There's always a bull market somewhere." So I don't know if he still says it or not. I don't watch him, so I don't know. So hey, if you did find today's session valuable, don't forget to subscribe, share this video with fellow traders, and check the description for other links that you may be interested in the description. And remember, join our community. Anil and I do this every Friday because we want you to be better prepared to trade and get ready for the next move in the market. So Anil, any final thoughts?
Now let's just wait and see what it does, whether it's going to pull back or it's going to keep driving up.
Right on. So
and I'm going to watch for the mid cap and the small cap, see what they do.
So hey, what's the mid cap the mid cap ticker for the ETF? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. So anyway, thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. So aloha and God bless everybody. We have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you had a great 4th of July. And Anil, thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.